couple weeks ago, I got my hands on a Pixel 4a. I was really excited to try out this device because it's been quite some time since I've used the Android phone, specifically a Pixel device. Now, it's a cheaper phone. It sells for $349.99, and in return, obviously you don't get top-of-the-line specs. Are we at a point now in this whole smartphone timeline where even a phone that costs less than $400 is a great phone? Let's find out in this review. Now, this review was going to be specifically about the phone. Now, I wanted to compare it to an iPhone SE, but I just did not have it in my budget to buy both phones. I thought about it long and hard what this review should be about. Should it be specifically about the phone itself, or should it be comparing other phones that are sub $500? But the way I think I want to break it down are the pros and cons of the Pixel 4a. Do we really need to be spending over $1,000 on our smartphones anymore? So the last year or so, I've been using an iPhone 11 Pro Max. Now, I've been using an iPhone now for a few years. I loved Pixel hardware. I loved Android software. I loved the customizations you could do with it. Android has just come a long way as far as user friendliness and just the overall experience. At this price point, you're definitely not going to get top of the line specs. The device could have the best specs in the world, but if the design of the device is bad, along with the software, then obviously specs don't really matter much, right? The phone comes with a 5.8-inch OLED display at 443 ppi and includes what they call a transmissive hole, which sounds kind of gross. The device also features 6 gigabytes of RAM and only comes in one storage size, which is 128 gigabytes. Now, looking at the design of the Pixel 4a, in my opinion, it doesn't look cheap. The back is made of soft touch plastic, which feels nice, albeit very slippery. If you buy this phone, definitely put a case on it, because I cannot tell you the amount of times where I was getting into my car or sitting down in a chair and the phone, I can kind of feel it just kind of slip out. And I'll be honest, I dropped it a couple times and even ended up cracking the lower right corner of the device because it just would constantly want to slip out of the pocket. Now, I think that's a combination of two things. I think the reason why I did that is the fact that it's very slippery and the fact the device is a lot smaller than what I'm used to. Now, here's the phone next to the previous generation Pixel 3a. The widths of the phone are about the same. However, the Pixel 4a's body is slightly shorter, but with a larger display, 5.8 inches versus 5.6 inches. I like the added accent color of the power button. I think that's a nice touch. However, I'm still a fan of smartphones that have either the power button on one side and the volume rocker on the other, or if they don't put them on opposite sides, at least have some type of texture on the power button. That way you can actually feel the difference between the two. The 4a comes with a fingerprint scanner on the back in classic Pixel style, which I still kind of like, especially now with this whole pandemic going on. You go outside, you're wearing a face mask. If you want to use your phone, you could use your finger to unlock it. It's very fast and easy. On my iPhone, it still wants to try to use the Face ID, automatically defaults to putting in the PIN, and takes an extra second or two. So I do like the fact that the Pixel 4a still has the fingerprint scanner. It's still crazy fast. Now, using the Pixel 4a as my daily driver, I can honestly say that this phone is very fast, especially for a phone in this price range. Now, I'm sure if I sat down and compared this phone to a more expensive device like a Note 20, with a Snapdragon 865 Plus processor, the amount of time it takes to open up an app or to load certain things, I'm sure the more expensive phone will be faster, but I'm also spending almost 3 times as much on the device itself. When using the device on its own, without comparing it side by side to something else, I don't think there was one time while using it that I would go out of Chrome, open up the camera, or load another app where I ever thought to myself, man, this phone is taking way too long to load. Now, speaking of not mediocre hardware, let's talk about the camera. There is no denying that the Pixels have had one of the, if not the best cameras on any smartphone, and it's been like this for quite some time now. And this phone at this price tag, honestly, is no exception. When I compare pictures from my previous daily driver, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, in good light, they both produce great pictures. However, in low light environments, the Pixel still has a slight edge. With the front-facing camera, the Pixel smartphone, I feel like, kind of cleans up the image on the front-facing camera a little bit more. So to my eyes, the front-facing camera on the iPhone is actually slightly better, but overall, they both look really good. And keep in mind, I'm comparing a $350 smartphone camera to a $1,200 smartphone camera. But pretty amazing that now you can take fantastic photos that are actually slightly better than a device that costs almost 3 times as much. It's really, truly remarkable. One of the only things that I didn't really care for is the battery life. Now on most days, I would probably get anywhere between 4 to 4.5 hours of screen on time, with having to need to charge it by about 4 or 5 p.m. A couple things that I wish they would have included in the Pixel 4a, and I get it, you know, the reason why they don't include them is to keep the price down, but I would have loved to have wireless charging. It's just so mainstream right now in so many phones that I feel like I'm missing out when I can't put my phone down on a wireless charging pad. Yes, it does include a fast charger, but it's still more convenient, obviously, to put a phone on a wireless charger and charge it that way. The other thing that I was kind of hoping for when they announced this phone is to have it in either a variation of colors or sizes. People may not view nowadays 128 gigabytes as a lot of storage. Now, obviously with the Pixel phones, you can't even upgrade the storage too, so you're gonna be relying on using Google Photos to keep your stuff backed up on their cloud service while not having to use actual storage on the phone. So for some people, I can see looking at this phone, 128 gigabytes, they may not think that it's enough for them and they might skip this phone altogether. When you think about the incredible value this phone gives you at this price point, it honestly makes me really excited about smartphones and their future. I remember talking about this when Google released the first Pixel. They went from offering these great Nexus devices that were very much competitively priced to launching higher end Pixel devices that were following in the same footsteps in the same direction as Apple and Samsung as far as pricing goes. Fast forward 3-4 years later, I don't think that strategy is working for Google. I am personally glad that they are doing this again. Adopting this strategy again could be what Google needs to get more Google phones into the masses. Now granted, Google should be launching their Pixel 5 relatively shortly, maybe within the next 30 days or so. We don't know if that's going to be competitively priced like the 4a, or if they will price it just like an iPhone 11 Pro Max. I think it'll be huge for not only Google, but the smartphone industry in general, especially a big company like Google launching an incredible device with an incredible price. As far as recommending this smartphone, all I can say is hell yes. At this price point, it really makes me take a step back and say to myself, do I really need to spend over $1,000 on a smartphone when I can get most, if not all, of the same features on a phone that's half the cost? Unless there is a mind-blowing hardware feature or software feature that a phone has, I'm just not sure if nowadays a phone that costs over $1,000 is really worth it. If you're just offering a regular smartphone with higher end specs and say, here, you can have it for $1,400, I just don't think that's gonna cut it anymore. I think for a lot of people out there, they're gonna start seeing these newer phones like the Pixel 4a, like the iPhone SE, and say to themselves, why do I need to spend $1,000 to get a great phone when I can spend $400 or $500 and still get a great phone? So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. My name is Chris H. This is Techie Shabai, and thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you next time.